You are listening to the Real Men Feel Show with your hosts, Andy Grant and Appio Hunter. Real Men Feel is all about encouraging men to allow and express all of their emotions. Despite what you may have been taught, all emotions do serve you. Real Men Feel is committed to opening up discussions that most men aren't having, but you certainly don't need to be a man to join us. The Real Men Feel podcast is produced live every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern for your growth and enjoyment. You can find more information about the Real Men Feel movement at realmenfeel.org. Come back often and feel free to add the podcast to your favorite RSS feed or subscribe on iTunes by visiting realmenfeel.org/iTunes. You can also follow us on Twitter at realmenfeel.org and at facebook.com/realmenfeelshow. All links mentioned in each episode are in the show notes found on the blog at realmenfeel.org. This is a weekly program, and your comments, feedback, and participation are welcome during the live show and anytime in the Facebook group, on Twitter, or at realmenfeel.org. Now, let's get into this week's show. Hello, and welcome to Real Men Feel. We are thrilled that you are joining us tonight for episode 63. I cannot believe it. I am your host, Andy Grant. I am a coach, author, and speaker. And I'm really excited about today's show because it's kind of returning to the roots of what the Real Men Feel program is. One of the key features behind it, the key themes behind it, which is spirituality. And specifically, spirituality for men, meaning encouraging men to open up to deeper levels of spirituality, perhaps opening men's awareness to spirituality for the first time, or again, just to deeper depths of it based on wherever your experience has been thus far. Joining me, as always, is one of my favorite male spiritual beings, my co-host, Mr. Appio Hunter.
Hey, Andy. It's always great to be here. You know, this is always a highlight of my week, so.
I have heard that, and I'm glad that it's still the case.
I have to reinforce that, you know?
Beautiful. And today's show, we're being joined by the co-founder and healer at spiritualityformen.com, Mike Marschhausen.
Hello, everyone. Appio, Andy. Honored to be here.
It's our pleasure. And so where are you coming to us from today?
I am in Belgrade Lakes, Maine right now. I'm from New Hampshire.
Cool. Right. You're originally from New Hampshire, or
Yeah,
not
right
originally.
now.
I don't even know that.
I am originally from there.
Okay.
Right now, I'm hanging out up at the family lake house, just relaxing and healing.
Cool. So Mike and we met, I think it was in April. I was doing Akashic record readings at an expo in New Hampshire, and you were wandering by, and I don't think you did a reading, but you noticed I had a Real Men Feel brochure about the show and stuff, and so we started talking, and you told me some of your story, and I just knew like 30 seconds in, like, oh, you're like the ideal guest. You know, I love to have men come on and share a bit of their personal story, and then ideally what they're doing now, being of service to other men or sharing their insight. Or so let's jump in. You know, you introduced, you said that you're a healer and the co-founder of spiritualityformen.com. So why don't we start there? Like, what is spirituality for men? What does that mean?
That means, to me, well, it was originally created in order to help men tap into the spiritual side. And it came from after doing a really intense kind of healing weekend with my cousin. And we were just blown away. I just had no idea like what happened. We're just looking at each other, and we were at the airport the next day, getting ready to leave in the terminal. And we're just like, we need to do something. We have to, like, how come other men, or at least the ones we know of, don't know about this? Like, what's going on here? We need to do something. And then, it was one of those things, the idea just kind of rises up into the head. And I was just immediately like, spirituality for men. Called my wife, and who was in Mexico where we were living at the time. And I was like, check if this domain's available, And she's like, it is. I was like, all right, buy it quick, hurry up. And so it was like wide open, completely available. So we knew we had to do it. And it really is to help men just, navigate their inner realm, right? The inside world and everything that goes in along with that, and just daily life and the challenges and struggles that we go through. How do we get through certain things? How do we get to where we want to be in life, but also how do we get through some of the struggles and challenges, whether that be hard breakups or loss of loved ones or want to quit your job, anything like that, just really having all the tools to be able to navigate that as healthily and peacefully as possible.
Cool. So is spirituality something that you've always been interested in, or did you have kind of your own crisis or dark night to get there, or how'd that work?
Yeah, absolutely not. I didn't really know anything about it. So I can take you back to, I kind of start my story around my deployment to Afghanistan in 2010. So I was in the infantry unit out of New Hampshire, deployed to Afghanistan when I think I was actually 19 years old at the time, turned 20 when I was there. And got back and went into, I was in school already. So I went to college, and I got back and I just started, partying and drinking, kind of coping with my deployment that way. And actually just found some stuff while I was here in Maine, like still from my deployment that I wasn't even aware of was still within me and affecting me somehow. And that's a lot of like the work that we do at Spirituality for Men, is all the subconscious work. But yeah, I was, typical partying, just, drinking on the weekends. And luckily I exercised a lot. That kind of was one of the ways that I coped with a lot of the stress and, made it through college without being too big of a drunk. and then after, I was studying nutrition, got into that, cleaned up some stuff with my diet, and I felt amazing for like the first time. Like this brain fog went away. And that was my first turning point, which was taking my power back, I call it, because that was the moment I realized I'm not stuck the way that I am. Something that changed that I thought was an inherent flaw was just due to whatever I had going on with inside my body. And so, I could think clearly and sharper and more energy all throughout the day. Everyone thought I was super healthy because I was like muscular and had a six pack, but I was just, super lethargic and, couldn't think straight most of the time.
And so this was just changing your nutrition to begin with at this point?
Yes,
wow.
Yeah, we're at nutrition right now. So it's starting in with the physical health, and because I was doing health coaching for a while, so I transitioned into health coaching. Well, I went to study clinical nutrition and to get my master's in that. So after I changed my diet and with that stuff, I just got super into like personal development. I was like, what else can I change? This is awesome. I'm not stuck this way. It's because I don't want to be this way. So just digging into all these different books and got into business, started my own business, did the whole like laptop lifestyle, was traveling around with my wife, doing like online personal training and health coaching, and moving along and super into the personal development stuff and trying all the tools and tactics and techniques. I was writing my affirmations every morning. I was trying every different morning routine combination possible, nonstop, either binge reading or listening to podcasts, just hoping that the next thing would be the thing that would lead to my success. And so I had all these goals and financial goals and never once reached any of them, and ended up just kind of getting worn out and, racking up some debt, and was really kind of hitting a low point. And it was annoying too, because I was like, what's going on? I even had some things that looked like they were successful, or it could have made them successful. Looking back on it now, like, why do I seem to like self-sabotage myself? What's going on here? And this was in Mexico now. Well, I gotten into spirituality kind of the summer before, but nothing much. Hadn't done any type of healing work. I don't even really remember where it started. I think just because I was into philosophy and got into like Buddhism and Taoism, and that kind of was the gateway drug to my spirituality was Taoism, I think. And moving along, met this woman in Mexico. She did like a little reading on her dog. She said she was a clairvoyant. And so she did a reading on her dog and a little healing with her. And she started talking to me and my wife and our friend, ended up doing like a little mini healing with all of us. And she told me about this thing called the theta healing and how you can instantly reprogram your subconscious mind with it. And so basically I was just like, I pull up my phone, I'm like, this theta healing, this book. I was like, all right, bye. And then I just bought it. I read through it. I started practicing on myself, and I felt like this overall sense of calm and just so like different. And I was like, what is this? Like, there's obviously something here. It doesn't make any sense to me because I'm just like doing something in my head, and then like having all these things change and weird things, like the shifts of thinking. Like I lost like a coffee craving. I still drink coffee now because I love it, but but at the time I like didn't even want it, and it's just like all these weird shifts going on. And so I was like, I have to do more of this. Started practicing with people. Went to this training that I was talking about earlier with my cousin, and that's when things really opened up. And then I got back from that and kind of started just switched into this type of work full time, really focusing on the subconscious mind and reprogramming it that way, because I was trying all these things the way the personal development books say to, with your affirmations and listening. I would make my own self-talks. I tried everything. It was just nothing was working, and it was killing me until I found the spirituality side of things and the energetic healing side of things. And then just everything has changed since then. It's been amazing, and it still is. I still find stuff to work on that I'm not aware of, but
yeah,
like this whole week I've been doing that. I'm like, what? Are you kidding me? I've done so much stuff now, like, all these like retreats in Mexico and so many healings on myself and with my cousin. It's like, how are there still things?
Yeah, don't worry, that won't end.
No.
Which is actually good, right?
Yeah.
It's all energy, so you keep discovering more energy. All of us keep discovering more about us, and there's more to learn, more to grow, more to release. But yeah, I've definitely been to a place. How is this not done yet?
Yeah, no, the onion is infinite, and there's always going to be another layer to pull back.
Yeah, but the good thing is that it feels better every time. Like,
it does.
I didn't know it could get better, and it's just like does until we're all these higher next level consciousness light beings, I guess, running around. But until then, there's a lot of work to do.
For sure. So I'm kind of curious on along your path. There always seems to be a link between personal development and spirituality. It seems like the spirituality leads to personal development, or personal development leads to spirituality. Would you say that both kind of like ended up happening simultaneously, or did one kind of lead more toward the other? How did you discover each along your way?
Yeah, it seemed like the personal development led me into spirituality, not necessarily because, like, more so out of it not working, I guess.
Gotcha.
And like I needed that. That was like the missing thing. But I definitely agree with what you're saying, and I've noticed that a lot. A lot of people are kind of more towards one or the other, and the personal development people, they're really lacking on the spirituality things, and they're just go the warrior mindset. It's cool to fight and struggle and challenge, which I personally disagree with. And then there's the spiritual side, where sometimes they're almost just like, kind of get stuck in a delusional law of attraction type thing. Everything's going to work out for me. I don't really have to do anything, and I'll just write down my affirmation, and someday I'll be rich. And I'm just like, maybe, but
yeah. Again, and ideally, it's like everything in life. It's not one or the other. It's really both.
Yeah.
But I find, like, when I was more into personal development and finding people that are, it's like that. Again, for me and for many people, I find that was the easiest path. Like, that's a book. I've heard of that author. This is all in the mind. This makes sense. Versus the jump to spirituality and experiencing energy work for me, had to be an experience. It couldn't be someone told you about it one day, because I would have just, cast that aside. Like,
right.
you had experience via your dog, which is unique. That's a new gateway drug via your dog. That's really cool. But I think, and tell me if you think that too. Like, the personal development part was really feeding kind of your brain more than all of you.
Yeah. And I like the experience thing. That's how I got into this, was just through experience. I was doing my best to not really try to believe in one thing or believe or disbelieve, but to experience, and it really worked. But for the personal development, it was just there was I don't know how to describe it. It's just it doesn't go deep into the subconscious mind, and there's so much more to the subconscious, to our hearts, to the way our body holds on to these traumas and trapped emotions, that a lot of the traditional personal development work just doesn't get to, and overlooks, and say, no, that's just the way life is. That's the resistance. That's your enemy. That's your ego. You just have to fight it, and that's what we do here. And I think that just leaves people stuck, and I don't agree with it. And that's a big part of what I want to share and teach people, especially with being an actual warrior or a veteran. And so many people take pride in being a warrior, and I think it is extremely useful to a point. But once you've done it for a while, I think you're ready to step out of it. And because otherwise you just get caught up in the fight and in the struggle. And people, warrior this, warrior that. First of all, most of you've never been to war, and it's nothing to idolize. It's nothing to want to recreate in your daily life. Why would you want to recreate war in your life?
Right.
And that's what so much personal development stuff is teaching. And I see it harm people.
Yeah, it's interesting. I remember hearing it's like one of the one of those tongue-in-cheek sayings attributed to like ancient Eastern knowledge or whatever. But it, in a way, kind of makes sense. War doesn't determine who's right; it determines who's left. But in that, looking at it from that perspective, using it kind of like as a bridge to this idea of the warrior mindset and then the spiritual mindset and so forth. It's interesting to hear you talking and noticing how you just in the words that you choose, I'm getting the sense that there's a time and a place for each. There's a time to be spiritual. There's a time to have that warrior mindset, but none of them are separate. They're all integrated into the whole.
Yeah. And when I was talking earlier, how I started off with the exercise and nutrition, it's kind of like this physical health, and I got into the mindset and then spirituality, so the whole mind, body, spirit, and they are all essential and need to be balanced. But as you were talking and bringing that up, I have a meditation that I made through using what I call the heart freedom technique, which is my way of doing energy healing, more so like the meditations and what I teach other people. And it goes in you call upon the warrior within you. We all have a warrior within us. Mm-hmm. And I went through a point after so much of this warrior mindset into spiritual stuff where I just didn't want to look at it. I didn't want to acknowledge it. Like, no warrior, nothing. And then out of a retreat, I actually saw like a lot of things in like the meditations, and where I was almost pushed it away too much. Mm-hmm. As I know, you really do have to honor and respect it because it is a part of you, and it always will be. And so what I like the meditation kind of takes you through. You call up what I call it the shadow man sometimes, because that's what the Lakota call it. They have a philosophy of the shadow man, and they're warriors. They were able to put shadow a man when they're at home and bring them out when they're at war and have normal lives. But we don't know how to do that as a society, whether you work in an office and just getting annoyed at everyday things, or driving in traffic and feel like everything's a fight, or if you're an actual warrior. It doesn't matter. We all have that, and it all comes out whether you're in an actual war type state or not. So by doing this meditation and acknowledging this energy, you kind of bring it up and thank it and honor it. Like, okay, you are there. I know that. And, we've been through a lot. We've been through a lot of lives together. We've seen a lot, done a lot. So you're definitely a part. But I don't need you right now. I don't need you while I'm at the office. I don't need you when I'm with my wife and kids. I don't need you while I'm driving down the street. So thank you, but please, go to sleep right now and only come out if it's a life-threatening emergency. And to just acknowledge it and then let it go to rest, and to help us transition into more of the peace, inner peace, and peace of mind, and just going through life with grace and ease without the need to fight.
You remind me of the pendulum. When your emotional pendulum is stuck, and when it gets released, it swings to one extreme and then back over to another extreme as it starts to settle back into its natural center position.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I thought, like, we have the warrior energy, the warrior archetype, and for me, it's about softening that you can be a proud warrior and have all your power. It doesn't mean you have to go to war, right? Mm-hmm. The notion of spiritual warrior, meaning to get used to the term, like I'm a warrior of the light. I'm here for good. And you can have strength in that, but you don't have to. Again, it's a warrior vibe without having to go to war, without having to get physical. Just being so confident in your faith, in your knowing, in your trust, in your realization that you are more than just this bag of bones. That's how warrior has come to show up in my life, and for me to recognize it and embrace it. But so did this notion of needing to go beyond the warrior, did this show up for you at all during actual combat or during training?
So during my deployment, I didn't know. I think I had a Bible with me, but I never read it or was really religious. My mom was, and she wanted me to. But even then, we never went to church or anything like that. Yeah. But I do remember at some points, praying to God just asking for protection. It was funny, like crying out. There was some really like scary times, and actually just this week found out I was doing some work on myself and with my cousin Max / co-founder. We went into like this place in my heart where I was like, we were like, all right, it's my turn. What am I going to work on? It's like, I don't know what I work on. And then I was like, oh, I'm soothing my chest right now, right here. All right, let's see what's in there. And there's like a bunch of different stuff, but then he ended up like seeing some stuff from my deployment. And so yeah, that got brought up, and particularly like an entity from someone who had died. And so he did some clearing, but then I had to go back into it. And what I found was the fear of not just me, but all of like my friends who were with me. And at the time, there's like this one particular instance that I'm talking about when these two they were like Afghan captives. They stepped on an IED, blew up right in front of me, and I like took on the fear of everyone around me.
Yeah.
And so I was scared shitless, and I was afraid to walk on a road for like 5 years after. And I didn't actually realize this really until a couple of days ago that I had, and I was like, oh, that's good. I was like so scared because I literally must have been some sort of like empath or like, this healer part of me underneath trying to like help them, but, not knowing how to do it the way I do now. So like taking on that fear. And I don't remember how this relates to your question, but so we're talking about
it all does. And I'll tell you, I haven't come across any sort of energy worker healer that's not an empath as well, or before, or in addition. So like that's so normal, and that was a part of my growing up too, feeling everyone else's emotion, thinking it was mine, and thinking there's something wrong with me because I feel really sad, yet I don't think I have something to be sad about. But yeah. And that's so like if the Army could do some detraining when you're coming back to life to teach you that. And to let you give you some of that, like imagine if you had this healing opportunity, in service while you were in the service. Like it'd just be, I just imagine the lives of so many vets would be so much easier easing back to non-warrior mode, right? Yeah,
and that's why I think I mentioned this to you, my cousin, and then a good friend of mine, Troy. We're going on a road trip this summer, calling it Vision Quest West, with the main emphasis to bring alternative healing modalities and techniques to veterans. And him personally, he had his thing with suicide, and I think from his old unit, since he's been out and since he was in, I think 16 soldiers from that one unit alone have committed suicide, which is a crazy high number. So this summer we're going out to raise a lot of awareness to other veterans to help them deal with this. And so what's tough though is that even just like me the other day, I mean, I'm sure some are open to it, and the more will start to become more open to it. But it's just you don't think they don't think it affects them. We don't think it affects us. Oh, you do your thing, and then you deal with it, and it's over, and that's it. And they don't understand like that's not how it works at all. And you're storing all of that, and it's acting out subconsciously whether you like it or not. Yeah. And they just kind of like brush it off, and even be still like apparently wait 9 months of Afghanistan, that probably is not much, because really personally I haven't done a lot of clearing things on it. Everything that's come up when I'm doing it is usually like past life or some other things, and so it's difficult for a lot of people to make the connections of what happened in their experience and how it affects them in their daily life now. Like all this fear that I found that wasn't even all mine, that was like still being stored in my chest, and I could feel it. And so it's going to be, I think, a little bit of it'll take some work, and that's all right, to get people to be open up to doing these kind of healings. But and
the more you share of your experience, the more every man, every human shares, I felt this, and gives everyone permission, like, oh my God, I felt that, but I couldn't admit it, right? Because it's
I was afraid to admit, I was scared. It's like, doesn't make sense.
Right.
I was scared. I'm 19 years old. It's just some people blowing up and getting shot at.
Well, at any age, people blowing up around you is going to be scary. Like, you don't grow out of that.
Grow out of that phase.
Oh, hell no. But what's wonderful about the whole sharing the story and raising that awareness is that it helps to also crack that story that we oftentimes use as men to justify those feelings those feelings that we don't want to necessarily acknowledge, the rage, the anger, and everything else, everything that gets suppressed. And it's like, oh well, I'm just dealing with it as a man, whether that is a dysfunctional relationship, beating the kids or whatever. All of the it's going, as you said, it's going to show up some way or another. and if we can help to dispel, that those stories that we tell, or tell, be honest about the stories that we're telling. Is it a mask? Is it something that, that helps us to kind of like keep in that, real man, tough guy image versus being a full, complete human being?
Right, like what Andy was saying before in the beginning, men are typically, we have this suffer in silence, almost, you don't deserve to have this as a problem, kind of thing going on. And that's what really nice view right now. Sorry, a little distracting. That's okay. So for my experience, on my deployment, I had a lot of that. Whereas, because we watch movies like Band of Brothers, and especially movies that date back, all the bloodshed, but even more recent things, and Black Hawk Down and Saving Private Ryan, all these different things. It's pretty messed up. There's a lot of people dying. It's really bloody, really scary. And so if my experience isn't like that, then I don't deserve to suffer from it. And that's what I experienced a lot. Because nobody died, none of my friends died, then, and I don't deserve to suffer that way, or I shouldn't acknowledge this because that's nothing in comparison to what others have seen. And, you can take this and relate it to not war, but anything in your life. And unfortunately, that's just not how humans work.
There's trauma and there's not trauma. It's not like, oh, you're just a little bit traumatized, or you're just a little bit wounded.
It's not like some little man like rating it. You're like, oh, I don't think you get this many points of deserving to feel that way. And
you're worthy of feeling disappointed in yourself for the weekend, and that's all. Like it doesn't. And but again, like what's kind and it's more than kind of neat. What's neat? What proves that you can tap in and help heal and move energy for people. Like your prior experiences prove that, because you can feel the sorrow and the fear and the anguish of everybody, and it's almost more easier for people to recognize that and notice it. But the flips of that is also we can feel the joy. You can tap into the heart. You can help move that, just as you can feel the energy and the fears of people around you as you clear yourself and heal yourself. I'm sure that's what you're finding. And the more you heal yourself, the more you can help others.
Yeah, for sure. Just being that bright light, I guess you could call it. And even I think what I was doing, here the other day with my friends who were there with all that fear. And so one thing, you guys talk about some weird stuff here too. So I think this is appropriate. So what my cousin found when he was going through was there was like an actual entity. So one of these guys who blew up, stepped on the ID, in a sense, was haunting us. Like, at least me, but then I got the sense that it was more so like all of us. So it was like this entity that, maybe didn't get sent to the light after he died. He wanted to, he was a little bitter, so he's sticking around and, can affect all of us. And so, Max helped me clear that. And then I did some stuff with the fear things, but then had to go and do that for like everyone. So I don't know what kind of experiences my friends from the deployment are having, or I'm sure that they would notice it. Just kind of like, something happened. But so for me doing this healing, I was able to like go and kind of pull those fears, and then also this entity from these other people as well. So again, my healing means their healing. Yeah, hopefully at least,
and the world's healing. Right?
Yeah.
At least anything helps everybody, even if they're not aware of it. But it'd be really interesting to see if some of those guys reach out to you, all the serendipities and synchronicities that follow after that. Because often, when I was taught training and I work with someone, and there's a simple process, just even taking your energy back from everyone you ever slept with. And when you do that, like a lot of phones start ringing. Hey, I just thought of you. And, as you move your energy and other people's energy, they're aware of it. It's just, are they fully conscious of that awareness or not? And do they reach out, hey, I was thinking of you, Mike, and what's up? And you're like, you had just done some work on them without them knowing, perhaps. And
yeah, my little aha face. Someone actually just messaged me to get together. That was this. Wow.
There you go.
Ooh.
I got to double check that date.
No,
because honestly, I don't really talk to any of them anymore.
Yeah.
After.
But you do. You're talking from the heart, right? You're talking from you as the healer.
In that way. But after I got into the stuff I got into, and with the out of the army and grew the hair out and working from a laptop in Thailand and Bali and Mexico. And then especially now into like the spiritual stuff, you really lose connection with them. Which is kind of sad in some levels. And actually, this is something I worked on too. And I also found that it was like a connection to a lot of like other like past life, brotherhood and symbolic of that. But
well, if I could offer something there for you, Mike, because there's never really truly a disconnection. We may lose a conscious connection with people, but that spiritual connection, particularly from our higher selves, it's always there. That link is always there. There's always an awareness which is there. But even though we may not be consciously aware of them as we progress through life and through our human adventures, that's still there. That link is always remains.
Yeah. Yeah. And what's interesting, when I was going through the whole fear of what other people think thing, that group of people was the like hardest one I found to work through or to get by. Yeah. And I don't have a really great explanation for it, but something with that is,
him. Yeah. You've gone through traumatic time with these guys. So it makes, as an observer, it's perfect sense. That makes sense to me. You feel most confident with and most connected with, you're concerned about their opinion of you the most. And even when it's you helping them and serving them, you say, oh, they'll think I'm weird or this is goofy or whatever it might be.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just like, weird. There's a little like extra something to it, right? Because not all of them were like that close of friends, and it wasn't even for that long a time. So I personally feel like there's probably a lot of like past life history too.
I mean, the more emotionally charged an event, the more emotionally connected I feel. Like I feel like best friends with people I've known for like a few hours, or people on vacation, meet them for like a long weekend, and I stay in touch with them longer than guys I grew up with or people I worked with for years.
Yeah,
right.
Sure, I've had that.
Yeah,
had that too. In fact, Lori just put in the chat here. That's your band of brothers. That particular experience, as short as it may have been, it's your band of brothers.
Yeah.
Because it's the intensity that makes connection, not the time.
Yeah. I have when I do my healings with people and on myself, I see a lot. I guess a lot of people are kind of jealous, like, oh, you can see things. So I have very vivid, kind of trippy experiences. And the other day, like going through this, it was like me and this band of brothers, and we all got to the top of this volcano, and we like open up our hearts and just started like throwing everything into this volcano, like all these fears and all these things from past lives, whatever the heck it was, just on top of it. And we hiked this mountain and just throwing it all into the volcano and like just cleansing all of it. So it was pretty cool.
Wow. I funny, as you're describing it, I actually got that visual. I actually see everybody standing there on the edge and tossing. Wow. That's that doesn't happen to me too often. I get impressions, but the visuals don't come through that clearly. But boy, that one just did. Wow.
Yeah, that vibe going out, tapping into your psychic senses.
Yeah.
Again, it's once you start working with energy, it's always there. It's not just when I'm doing a healing on someone. It's like we're always connected and picking things up, and it doesn't stop. Unless we choose to ignore it, which, I do my best not to do that.
Yeah. There's a lot of things going on. I just won't say the deeper I got into the spiritual stuff, it was just like learning all kinds of things that I didn't know existed, and still have all these different like aha experiences going on lately, and just learning about humanity, what humans are, and the human soul. There's so many mysteries still, and it's fascinating.
It's a fun journey.
The training that you went through in Mexico, that was kind of the big turning point and launched spirituality for men. Were your ahas, were the big impacts healing of yourself, or at times when you were doing something for someone else, or how did that play out?
So this was, I was living in Mexico, Playa del Carmen, Mexico. I flew to Miami Lakes because my cousin was in South Carolina, and this was kind of in the middle, and it was just absolutely perfect. And the woman that we did it with just went above and beyond what was expected from this course, and it turned into like just this small group, intense healing. She's a little more brutal, like you did a healing session with me, a little more, a little bit more of a bully. She really pulls things up to you, makes you cry. I feel like I'm a little more subtle and softer going in, but so this was intense, and this was a cry fest, and this was just like so much going on, and so it was all personal healing. deep healing on the self. And one of the biggest ahas at the end was the feeling of I don't have to fight anymore. And that's why when I went into this, that's when I went like super against the warrior, but then saw like, no, you still have this warrior side. You have to balance it kind of thing. But there was a huge clearing, and like 4 days in a row, starting with some basic this life stuff, and then this is where I really learned about past lives, because I just felt it all over my body. And you can muscle test for beliefs, and so we're like doing some of those, so finding stuff too. It's just so even that's kind of like a cool way to see like I'm muscle testing for something that makes zero sense at all. That's the subconscious mind, everyone. So yeah, at one point I was just like convulsing on the floor, like after like this deep healing session, and there was just so much energy running through me. It was like I was shivering and convulsing, but I was warm, and there was just so much release, so much going on. And I thought it was really strange because I had a pretty good childhood. Nothing really traumatic happened. Yeah, there's some no real stuff that stuck out from like this life, was just some basic things like feeling dumb and stupid, and from like school and a couple other things, and like that fixed mindset I had, and parents never really had like that much expectation for me, which I guess subconsciously led into they don't care about me succeeding, which isn't true at all. So yeah, just like some basic stuff from this life, but then there's just like so much like deeper stuff happening with my cousin, and I guess connected to a lot of this past life stuff. So yeah, the biggest aha was, wow, this stuff truly does something, because why am I convulsing on the floor when I didn't take any drugs? We got high off of unconditional love, and it lasted for like 3 hours, and Max and I were just like frolicking and singing around, running around the park afterwards. And then like at the end, like that huge feeling of I don't have to fight anymore. But then it really was like almost a rebirth. Like I was not the same person going out of that weekend. And I got back, and my wife Susie, she said I smelled different. Like I'm talking some serious deep change going on. So yeah, those were my aha things. It was like, wow, there's like a way to change, to heal like powerfully, and not have to fight, and tapped into some of my stuff, and was realized that this is the work I am supposed to be doing.
Amazing.
Like, and you can be a warrior without having to fight.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm still trying to find a balance for that, and the words I prefer to use, but because even if you Google or define warrior, it does talk about being like a trained soldier. So if you have any ideas, let me know. If something else.
Well, just look at his spiritual warrior defined differently, and warrior of the light. But I think of the movie like 300. All those
way of the peaceful warrior.
And you're just the warrior. You're the warrior. You're standing firm. And you can fight if you have to, like you said. Show up when you need to, but it's not. Yeah. Oh, and Lori's
champion
/ champion.
I like that. Champion. Yeah, champion really is a very
defender of the faith, little Judas Priest, right? But, but just something to play with, because I accept. Yeah, we can all, and it can just be hung up on a word that our mind, the ego, whatever you want to call it, has distorted it, but the energy of it actually helps us.
Yeah,
another thing to play with.
Yeah, because words are magic. Words are powerful, like healing things. So if you have, it really does depend on your connotation, your perception of this word. So that's why I like to sometimes nitpick what to call things. So maybe we just need to redefine warrior even more so.
I call it an emotional resonance that we have with certain words, and each person has a different emotional resonance with certain words. Okay. So for instance, I like to use words that have a stronger emotional resonance with me, and oftentimes if I'm working with a group or an individual or whatever, I will select words that may not necessarily have the same emotional resonance with me, but have the appropriate or powerful emotional resonance with them, so that they can connect and make that journey to be able to move forward.
And I would want to point out, like, I'm not a veteran, Appio's not a vet, so our ease in seeing a spiritual warrior, a warrior that can be softer, is probably easier than yours.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Too. Yeah, but if you're speaking to vets, again, you share your experience, we share our experience, and that's the way we all connect with the right people and hear their message in the perfect time, and so
like some people, the word healer too. I guess some people don't like using that word or calling themselves healer, but I personally like that word, because to me, to heal means to restore to to the normal state or perfect health. And so I personally really like the word healer, because I think that's, a lot of the work, almost anything can be healing. And we're on this journey to restore ourselves to this normal state. And to me, that state is like these light beings of unconditional love. And so anything that gets you closer to that is healing to me. But I guess some people who have more background in the healing and spirituality, realm than I do, they have like these connotations with these words, but I don't have any of that. So I think
that's the work never ends. And again, I just encourage you, and I love that you're already doing this, but you come at it from your experience, because 10 years from now, 5 days from now, you could have a new aha and have a different perspective on something that you're like, oh, this is what's right. Oh, wait, if I do it this way, it's even brighter.
Even brighter.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I like that. And as opposed to discovering something although if the choice is being happy or right, I'll choose happy. But I've also found that things I thought were right, but with a little twist, they become righter and just more vibrant, more powerful.
I like it.
And that's the fun part about being just in the now all the time, because what was appropriate or great or right, 3 minutes ago can be even righter now. It could be even better now, or it can just make absolutely no difference. So you can actually release it and let it go. But it can be crazy as well. Being in that swirling moment of now, it can make for an interesting ride.
Yeah, and those shifts can happen, at any time, and so dramatically, or even not that dramatically, but they can happen so quickly. Like, again, talking about like doing this, this week for me has been pretty wild. But even today, I had this pretty awesome experience, and new things opened up, and was even like heard the voices in my head telling me, like my guide saying, like, things are going to be different now. Like, expect things to be different. Like, it's okay. Like, don't be scared, but things are different now. Yeah. And so, shifts can happen at any time, and you're constantly changing. And also, one point about that actually that brings up maybe something to talk about is these internal shifts. They can happen instantly, but sometimes it takes a little longer to come back externally. And that can be a little bit annoying. That's a good experience.
That's so true.
I've been experiencing that a lot. When I started after going through some of these big things, like coming out this different person, feeling so different, knowing I am different, but some things on the external haven't changed the way we wanted them to yet. And just like, what's going on here? Like,
the best way I've heard that explained is, so we live in a vibrational universe. It's all energy and thought and light. It's a higher vibration, and all this physical stuff, our bodies, the manifested reality around us, is the densest stuff. So that's the slowest to change. So you can have, oh my God, I'm this being of light and I'm all powerful. I can heal the world. Oh, well, how come the world hasn't healed everywhere? And it just because it takes a while to settle in. That's the time effect, right?
Dense being a very good word to describe it.
Some aspects of us are denser than others, even.
Right?
Those take the longest. But it's something I've been seeing with like some clients and even with myself. And it's just like, you just know, right? You got to trust the knowing, right? And then in that faith, things are changing, shifting. Doesn't mean stop doing anything and just wait, but. That's
another real challenge. Like I've been in that phase the last few weeks. So like, well, if everything's all love and light and everything's, I can just sit here and the world will change around me.
I'll just write my one affirmation a day and I'll be rich in no time.
Right.
I pick on affirmations a lot when I first started doing them, or when I first started getting into a lot of the healing work. I was doing a lot of money stuff, and a lot of people were coming from like these law of attraction groups, and that was one of the most common themes. So I saw like, well, I write my affirmations every day, and I'm still don't have it. I'm not a millionaire yet. I didn't get that check today. And so sometimes I like to pick on
just mental without the spiritual, just spiritual without physical. It's all you're operating on a truck.
Combine them together. Yeah. There you go.
That's where the magic is.
Right. One tool alone. Again, well, the worst analogy, the oldest one. If all you have is a hammer, everything in life looks like a nail. Just go around bashing everything, and that only gets you so far. Imagine being a carpenter with only a hammer. You probably won't get hired much. I have the best hammer in the world, and it still doesn't get you anything beyond bashing in nails.
Yeah.
Or if it's a saw and that saw's dull, guess what? Yeah,
soon
for
you're
sure.
limitless.
That's good.
Yeah. So I want to go talk more about the vision quest that you're on, the road trip. So is that spelled out at all yet? Do you know where you're going or how that is going to unfold yet?
Yeah, my friend Troy knows more. He's been putting it all together. But sometime later or a few weeks into July, the plan is to probably make like a pretty big haul out west, skipping a lot of like the middle of the country, and then hitting up different national parks. And nothing against the middle of the country.
Yeah, what did they do wrong? What's happening? Are they all healed there? They're all good in the middle? We should in the middle?
Somehow the national parks got concentrated out west for some bizarre reason.
But yeah, we have limited time, so we really want to hit up a lot of these different places. Starting in like the Badlands area, everything that went along there, and just tapping into the different energies of places and connecting with anyone along the way, or any veterans, but anyone in general, and either like doing some healing with them, or some group meditations or workshops, or even if they want to come out into nature with us and do some healing stuff. And I wish I could remember all the locations, but it's pretty cool. Doing a loop around and up to Colorado, and we found looking for a place there to end it with like a nice, few day long retreat type thing. But the whole way, the intent will be sharing our stories, sharing what we're doing. Troy sharing his story with, his all of his friends with the suicide and the things that he's learned, and then Max and I with our story, and then our healing work specifically, and how we help people with those kind of things. And just we'll be blogging about it and vlogging, I think, and just the whole thing will be in an RV, and just heading out there and to help anyone along the way if anyone wants to join, and just get our story out there to help more men, right? And just kind of lead by example. That's one of the biggest things. I think we brought that up earlier, but for men is to lead by example, and so they can see these three fairly masculine men, appearing men, they're talking about all these different things and doing that, then maybe it is okay for me to do it, or me to explore that.
Yeah.
So
own that masculinity. Crying, having energy work, it doesn't take away. Like I believe and feel that adds to your masculinity, that adds to your warrior, right? That you've got all these.
Yes. So another cool thing that happened in my weird little trivia visions and things that I see and do. So this, when was it? When did it first happen? I think it was after I went in and did, got rid of like a lot of that fear. Oh yeah. So I saw this shadow. It wasn't like the shadow man like we were talking about, but it looked like a shadow man. It was a silhouette, and it was a fear shadow. And I was like, okay, like, what do I do? So step into it. So I stepped into it, and then just like allowed and said, it's okay. And I said, it's okay to myself. And I said, it's okay to everyone, whose fear it was, and just allowed. I said, it's okay. It's okay. And then it just kind of like dissolved, which is a little differently than, you like trying to like just send light to it and having it disappear. And it's, no, that's not what I needed. So step into it, say, it's okay. And just allow that to happen. And then when that happened, this like divine divine masculine opened up within my chest, and it was like this blue tornado. And then this divine masculine went all like over my body, and it was like in my chest, and I tapped into this new energy source for myself. And then it happened again the other day, like tapping into it. And so I was trying to like connect with his energies, like what's the point of this, what's going on. But one thing that I noticed is that it didn't come out when I ran and slashed this shadow with a sword. It came when I stepped into it and allowed it and embraced it and said that it's okay. It's okay it's all okay. Everything's okay. But to be with it and to understand it, not to just ignore it or fight it or cut it away. Yeah. And then that's when the divine masculine within myself first stepped out. And it wasn't, so it wasn't from a fight. It was from an allowance, from being okay to cry, to acknowledge fear, to say, well, oh yeah, I was scared, like big deal. Mm-hmm. And is more masculine than pretending that we don't have feelings or that we don't have problems or
Right on.
things
What's
like
the show
that.
called? What's the show called?
Real men feel.
It's called Real Men Feel or something.
I love it.
Yeah, that's
I love it.
exactly what I experienced the other day.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I didn't even
Also,
think that.
I love your enthusiasm and energy and having you recall things and be here. It's really it's really fun and to witness. Beyond fun, I'm looking for a better word. I don't know. I feel like pride. I feel pride in watching you for whatever reason as you're going and doing more of that.
Yes.
So, I envy. I welcome your blue tornado.
Yeah, so I'll send it to anyone who's listening or wants some of it.
I'm so glad that you brought that up, because one of the things I've always found is that men in particular have an emotional, they do not resonate well with the word acceptance, because for far too many men, the word acceptance has this emotional resonance of capitulation, of giving up and so forth. And when you talked about being okay, I always prefer to use the words "it's okay," because I'm being okay with something, because that releases the resistance, which allows and releases that divine masculine. And so when you brought that up, I myself was caught up in that incredible tornado of that divine masculine, and releasing and understanding that it is okay. It's always okay. No matter what happens, it's okay.
Yeah. I get chills from you saying that. And then that's exactly what it was.
Yeah. I mean, it's a recurring theme in the show, recurring theme in my life is that when an emotion shows up, it's there to be felt, not to be fought, not to be denied and resisted. Because like in actual warfare, in mental games and egoic stuff, what you fights back. What you resist resists you. But when you step into it, when you allow to step into that fear, you go, oh, yeah, it's all right. I can feel this fear, and wow, and I felt it, and then it just dissipates on its own because I allowed it, as opposed to I didn't have to slash it with my sword and cut it to pieces. It's just like, wow, it was a part of me. I accept it as part of me, and now I'm stronger for that.
Yeah, I got chills from you saying that too. I don't know if I think I told Andy. So one thing that was really weird when I started to get into this work and into spirituality was I would get chills on things, but way different than like a normal like chill, like getting chills on something. And I get it as like a confirmation of truth. And then when I do healing sessions with people, when I'm talking to them, trying to figure out like where their problem is, on like depending on what they say, like I'll get chills on what the problem is. And then like the belief that so I do a lot of belief work, changing the belief, and I'll get chills on like on the biggest one, or like when I'm doing it. And so when you guys we were talking about that, I just got lots of chill confirmation on it.
Yay!
Yeah.
In case you needed any validation, but and
we don't need it, but we always welcome it. How's that?
Absolutely.
And then one thing that came up, a note on emotions is, so again, for the work that I do when I experience a lot of the emotions that come up, a lot of times are coming up due to a past trauma or experience or belief. I call them triggers. You can feel them in your body. And so, they're definitely not to run from them or ignore them. So you can step into it and figure out what it is, and then, find a way to clear it, and then you won't have it come up again. And so a lot of people, they're afraid to do, I don't know, how do I word this? Maybe you guys can help me word this better after, but so you're afraid to step into this emotion because it's like scary, and you think something's going to happen, but the opposite happens. When you step into it, you can allow it to release and to clear it. And so we're like afraid to do the thing that's actually going to help get rid of the thing that we're afraid of. And so like a lot of times the emotions that come up, they are connected to these things, and we don't have to have them negatively affecting us. And so we can go and clear through them. And so it's important to recognize if what's going on is connected to a past trigger, trauma, belief, something, and so that it doesn't have to unnecessarily affect you.
No, I think, again, speaking for myself, I can recognize that I get so used to feeling a different way, or so used to a story, even when I've outgrown that, it's time to let that go. And I had a session with Mike a few weeks ago, and what you were seeing and feeling in me is like, yep, right on, heard this before, yep. I know this, yet I have not, if it gets cleared, I go and I pull it back, or I don't release it all because I'm so used to being that. I'm so used to my egoic identity. I'm so used to my old story that it can be, well, who am I without that? And for me, that's what brings you back, or what pulls the crap back in. Like, oh, let it go. I feel amazing. And then you wake up, wait a minute, who's this amazing person? Wait, I better start feeling shitty again so I know where I am. That's what I find can happen often.
That's when you need back-to-back sessions.
Keep it going.
Keep
I
it
need a week
flowing.
at the lake house.
Yeah. Yeah. Should have came on up. Leaving tomorrow. But yeah, that's definitely, it's easy to fall back to, especially when your environment doesn't change. So doing belief work, what I've found is that the only time it really doesn't stick is a lot of time, or the biggest problems that we have when we do have these internal shifts is our environment, right? So we have to, you know, like for example, for me, you know, I had to come back from Mexico and, you know, stay with friends and family for a while until we figure out and use my parents' car until we bought, you know, we just bought a car, but do all these different things. And, you know, so you're back with old friends and your family, and, you know, they still say the same old things to you and all these things. And so in your environment can sort of like start to wear on you, even though, you know, you change it internally. You really have to, you know, fortify that or not go back into that environment. Do what you can to change that environment because, you know, it's yeah, like you mentioned, it's easy to slip into these back into the same patterns even after we do change stuff. You know,
yeah, because even in my experience, I find even what's uncomfortable can have a comfort level to it.
Yeah.
So even if fearful and resisting and, you know, feeling traumatized, you feel like a victim, even though you want all that to stop, if you're used to it, it's almost like, well, if it stops, what else, what's beyond that? And that can be, you know, fear of your own healing, or, I mean, it's the famous Marianne Williams quote that, you know, we're more afraid of our light than our darkness. We're more afraid of how powerful we are than the other way. And I mean, again, I find that to be really true.
For sure.
Yeah, indeed.
Absolutely. The whole fear of success versus fear of failure.
Right. Yeah. Failing's easier. Right. We can fail. All right. Hey. You know. But,
hey, no, we can twist the whole idea of taking the route of least resistance and constantly go the failure route and still end up succeeding. There is that. But you know, it's all these observations are just like hitting me like from so many different directions. Like my head is spinning right now because I'm getting all of these downloads and all of these things are just like coming through. And you know, one of the things that really struck me during this conversation is that embracing, you know, the embracing of what it is that we fear, the discomfort that becomes so comfortable, all of these things that happen, and yet they're a totality of who we are. They're a representation of the totality of us. And by embracing, we're simultaneously releasing. By being okay, we're at the same time allowing and you know, ending the resistance. It's like coming through in such a rush right now. I'm not even sure if I'm even making a lot of sense, but it's just like whacking me over the head repeatedly over and over and over again. I'm just loving this.
That's awesome. I'm glad. Yeah, it's been a fun conversation. I noticed myself jumped up and down in my seat, so I'm clearly getting excited too.
Right?
God, I want to start singing that old Grease song, like "Got chills and they're multiplying." Right?
Right.
It's my favorite day. The chills.
Yeah, because I often get I'll get like shudders, and again, and to acknowledge working with Mike that, you know, when he was doing stuff and claiming things to me, like that's when I could tell that I'm really doing some work and releasing them. I get like leg shudders, or down my whole spine I'll have shudders, and I definitely remember that from the session for sure. But I'll even do that when I'm working with a client. I'll have that same shudder, like you talk about the chills. We're like, oh, I hit their truth, or oh, here's their core. Okay. And,
yeah. Everyone, I think, has different ways of knowing.
Yeah. Right. It's all our own little tells.
Yeah. Mine just happened to be extremely obvious. Probably to coerce me into it, since I was still new to a lot of this stuff. It was like, you can't deny this.
Yeah, no, and that's great.
Your mind's gonna fight it all the time, but try fighting this.
Yeah.
Right.
I was like, oh, nope, yeah, I'll go with it.
Yeah, those are phrases I'll use for myself. Like, oh, I want this to happen in order to prove I'm supported, to prove I'm on the right path. Like, that's like, show me a sign that I can't possibly miss, that I cannot deny. And like, oh, I'm having a tremor. Okay.
Yeah. Not that obvious.
Yeah, exactly. Don't make it a seizure, just a little less.
So Mike,
All right,
what's the
guys.
best way for people to track you down, how to connect with you?
You can go to spiritualityformen.com, and Max and I, we do a handful of free readings with people each week to help them kind of pinpoint where, to use the chills to pinpoint where the beliefs are, where the blocks, the traumas, experiences, whatever it may be, where they are, how that's affecting you and your subconscious. So we have that available. The podcast will be coming soon. We are pretty slow with it, but I'm sure it's all moving along the way it's supposed to. So the best way is to go to spiritualityformen.com.
Great.
Or Facebook. You can friend me on Facebook if that's a thing too.
Cool. And the info on the road trip out west and everything, that's on that site too?
Yeah, that'll be through visionquestwest.com.
Oh, okay, different. Okay.
And yeah, we'll be putting it up on the website and figuring it out a little bit better at some point. But right now that's on visionquestwest.com.
Cool.
Awesome.
And Facebook.
So Spirituality for Men right now is you and your cousin Max?
Yes. Yes. And we do want to turn it more into a collective and collaborative, place for people to share knowledge on spirituality and, just life, stuff that we were talking about, whether that's blogs and the podcast is coming to. So that's the eventual goal is we got it up. When did we get up? Not too long ago. I was working with almost all women, but then since this kind of balanced it out with men, which is really nice. I'm excited about. So yeah, definitely encourage any men, but if any women listening to, I actually do work with.
Oh, good. Guy, I was
far more women.
Like, what if a woman shows up to your Vision Quest? Do you like cast her out or welcome her in?
No, well, I mean, women go through they hear me on a podcast or something. They go right through the website. It doesn't seem to deter them. So hopefully it doesn't deter anyone listening to this as well.
Yeah. I find the human beings most deterred by spirituality and healing and emotions are the men. That's what we call them out. But
I can make so much more money if I was focusing on women. No.
Yeah, but again, the women
That's
support. Let that. Wonder Woman's the big movie right now, right? Let that warrior show you the divine feminine.
And it's a freaking awesome movie too.
I want to
go
see
give
that.
my plug.
I was going to see it.
I loved it. So
really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Very well done. Best of the DC movies. But
I'm going to see it this week.
Cool. So if you're ready to embrace your inner Wonder Woman or your Wonder Man, or turn your warrior into the healer, into the lover, into the light, check out spiritualityformen.com. And again, I had a session with Mike. It's the real deal. This isn't you'll have an experience, and that's the best thing. That's why I love the notion about your road trip. The more that you spread this experience, let people that there's really something awesome when it's someone that has no clue and thinks here's spirituality, and the people that will like poo-poo the website, but they might fall in for the Vision Quest, like with a different name allows it to be open to them. And then they have that experience. They have that aha. They have that chill. They have some new energetic experience in their body, in their being, and they go, holy fuck. Like that's the moment that I love, right?
Yeah. I actually had that with someone the other day who had kind of a colleague, and he was brand new to all the spirituality stuff. He's like, saw my stuff on Facebook. So I did a little reading with him, but I decided to turn it into a little bit more of a healing so he could experience. And it was pretty fun because he was like, just obviously something's happening. And so he was, that's his way of believing. But it's funny because some of the most common words I hear is, I thought I was over that. Because we were like talking about money stuff. I was like, all right, where do you feel the stress in your body? Like right here. And I was like, all right, what's behind it? A couple questions. It's like back to traumatic experience when he was 12. I thought I was over that. Some of the most common words I hear.
We can't think our way over anything, and that's the illusion. That's what we all suffer from. I thought I was over that. Well, did you feel you're over it yet?
The past worst advice ever. Yeah, some of the worst advice ever is forget the past. Oh, forget the past. Move on. You can't
embrace
it. Your subconscious mind does not forget.
No, it doesn't. Embrace it and be okay with it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Okay.
thanks a lot, Mike. I really enjoyed this conversation. I love what you're up to. I love your journey. I love that you're sharing it. I love that you're going on tour. Again, I just enough people can't bring this sort of work, this sort of energy to the forefront enough. And I love to see just young guys, vets, just you embracing it all, sharing it all, and your excitement, your energy about it, your ahas, your chills, just everything. I commend you. I commend you deeply.
Oh, well, thank you. I love you guys.
Cool. So Real Men Feel will be live again next Tuesday, June 13th, 8 p.m. Eastern. We're going to be joined by men's connection coach Sean Patrick Mayer to discuss how men can create deeper connections with themselves and others. So that's next week. And again, thanks everyone for joining us for this show. Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Appio. Thanks, Lori, for partaking in the chat room with all your info on how to be a warrior for us.
Thank
and
you.
Have a great night.
Thank you for listening to Real Men Feel. Until next time, visit realmenfeel.org, join the Real Men Feel group on Facebook, and share what you thought of this show. Please give this podcast a review on iTunes, Google Play, or wherever you are discovering Real Men Feel. Reach out to us at realmenfeel@gmail.com. Learn more about Andy Grant at theandygrant.com and Appio Hunter at appiohunter.com.